Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
If I knew the Urdu translation and I could pronounce it in all seriousness, I probably would have a go. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Kamiji. Of course, it hasn't gone down well, has it? Why would it go down well? Why would it indeed? And for those of you who've contacted me, I'm hoping that I can go through a series of expansions, clarifications and whatnot to lay out my position as I see it, and actually my responsibility as I see it. Long before the Reticent 9 transmission started, or any of this work began, long before most of you came across me in this iteration of my life, I was a government advisor that championed what people know as community cohesion. In fact, I helped develop what the government did consider to be community cohesion. And of course, community cohesion emerged out of the riots in Oldham in 2001. And what I convinced the government, was that towns like mine, Oldham, were broken because of institutional segregation, where our very system structures, our entire society was becoming increasingly segregated as a consequence, as a direct consequence, not necessarily of the decisions that you and I made, but the actual policies of the institutions that governed our town. And the government agreed with me and made me an advisor. And I spent a significant part of my life, this was before my counter-terrorism work, counter-extremism work, making sure to put in place safeguards to make sure that wherever possible, people from different backgrounds come together on shared issues, because I genuinely believe together we are stronger. So I'm not jumping on a bandwagon here. This goes back to my work that started in 1997, 4 years before 9/11. Nearly 30 years ago, I started this work, and it was after spending a considerable amount of my time working on massive regeneration projects across the country. So when I was critical of KAMRAN GHAFOOR's Oldham Group for the absence of diversity amongst their ranks, when they had the clear opportunities to make sure that they reached out, engaged, and found space for people who were different from them, it wasn't from a place of malice. Oh, here's another dig I can have at them. It was a place of genuine belief. These are my values. And they have been for my entire life. So that's the first thing I'd say. Now, before we move on, good evening Sheila, good evening Lee for joining us. And indeed Tony, over 1,000 of you viewed Sunday's content. £2 for a coffee. Come on freebies, it's £2 for a coffee. You do not get this anywhere else. There's a link right at the top. It's £2 for a coffee or 75 pence a week to subscribe to my newsletter, which then gives you access to all my work. They've gone out free for the last month or so. And as usual, my subscribers, my paid subscribers, go down. So if you take value in my work, and no, Gary, I don't mean you or some of the others, like Lynn, because you contribute all the time. I'm on about 1,000 or so who watched the content and took immense value in it for different reasons. I got a message from a friend of mine in the Labour Party. Apparently the Labour Party in Oldham were thanking me for the transmission on Sunday. You don't need to thank me. I didn't do it for you. I did it for the people of my town. And actually, I did it for the very people involved in the Oldham Group. Because I do think there are some genuinely decent lads in there. And this isn't down to them. They're politically ignorant, naive, and they've been exploited. Exploited by a man who wants to be MP. And wants to take, because he's been outmanoeuvred in Oldham East, the Workers' Party and the Conservatives have outmanoeuvred him. He won't get the Conservative nomination that he wanted, and the Workers' Party have put someone else in. So Oldham East, he's got no chance as an independent, as KAMRAN GHAFOOR. He won't get enough of the Pakistani support, and even if he got all of the Pakistani support, even if he got all the Bangladeshi and Muslim support, it would only amount to about 7,000 votes. He'd come nowhere near. He'll need the working class, middle class. He'd need the white support, the Conservative support, the traditional Labour support, the Red Wall support, and he won't get it in Oldham East. So his plan was, despite his agreements with me, was to use the Oldham Group as a stepping stone to build up a voter base in Oldham West. And for those of you from the Oldham Group who tried to reach out for me, I don't care if you claim you didn't know. You did know. You did know. And if you didn't know, you should have known. And if you didn't know, and you should have known but didn't, now you do know, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let's get on with the transmission. We do share all the work on Facebook. We do it in the lead up to the elections. The algorithms aren't very good for us on Facebook, I'm afraid, on Recusant 9, the way it works. Whole host of shadow banning and stuff going on. So the only way you see it is if you follow the page. There's 4,400 of you who follow the page. I've checked earlier, loads of you who should follow the page, who are supporters of me, actually don't follow the page. So if you are on Facebook, please do follow the page and please do share the posts, because the only way we get the reach is if you share the posts. It costs you nothing, and it means that people who ordinarily wouldn't see the posts, wouldn't know what's going on, have a chance to be updated as to what is going on. So please do share the posts. Here are the 3 people who bought me a coffee on Sunday night. I know some of you give me the super chats, but I don't get that money. It's all kept to one side, and it goes on the Christmas party and things like that. So I'm grateful to all of you who do contribute with the super chats, but that money goes towards events where we all come together. Put this out Sunday night. You can see for yourself. Over 1,000 views. Over 1,000 views on Sunday night. And within the last 48 hours, 1,248 views. So those who believe our content has limited reach, well, it's probably the only political analysis that takes place in this town. Comes from me and the work that I do. And I know you take value in it, and I know the politicians take value in it, because what we talk about here, what I share here, often forms the discussions in the council chambers and even makes its way into the promises and pledges of the political parties. I put this out on Twitter this morning. It's a KAMRAN GHAFOOR and his team photograph. I have no issue actually with a group of mates hanging out. I've been in many a photograph where it's exclusively male and predominantly Bangladeshi, but not in promoting politics and not in promoting a political group. No. So people do have a right to ask, where is the white representation in the Oldham Group? And so far 57,000 people on Twitter have viewed the post. You see, Cammy G, by the time I'm finished with you, I will make sure that you have no chance of reaching out into the white communities to secure a voter base. No chance whatsoever. If you had dreams of becoming MP in Oldham West, those dreams are now gone. That's because you tried to play me. But actually, what I think is worse is you've played your own people. You've played your own team. I think that's worse. And none of this is complicated. Your own people can see what you've done. I helped, in good faith, put together amendments and motions for the Oldham Group, put together contents for their speeches that they've been sharing on TikTok, because I believed it was the right thing to do. Oh, I didn't know the super chats boost the YouTube chat stats. Thank you, Tony. There you go. Nothing against any of these guys in the photograph. A few of you have been in touch with me today. I live in Hollywood. Who do I vote for? I live in Waterhead. Who do I vote for? I'll be very clear. I've met Councillor Irfan in Hollywood. I think he's a decent guy. I don't think he was involved in any of this. And providing you get the assurances from him that I'll go through at some point today, and his phone number's on the leaflet, so you can phone him if you live in Hollywood, I would urge you to vote for him. In Waterhead, I met Naveed many a time. I met Naveed separately to KAMRAN GHAFOOR. Came to see me, asked for some help in Waterhead. I think he's a decent guy. I'll go through where I think the challenges are for the Oldham Group, and providing he can provide you with the reassurance, not me providing, he can provide you the reassurance. In Waterhead, if you want rid of Ross Birch, then realistically is the only chance you've got. Now my friends criticise me for being ever trusting and ever an optimist. That's how I've got through life. I'm still here. I'm ever trusting and ever an optimist. I'll always give people a chance. Because there was a point in my life where I needed someone to give me a chance, and they did. So that's just the way I look at the world. This is Isa. And I'm not picking on her. There's a reason why I'm going to go through this in the way I go through this. Aisha stood last time as an independent pre the Oldham Group. So pre the Oldham Group, she stood as an independent in St Mary's. Basically, there were two teams. There was Aftab and Aisha as the independents, and Akil Salama and Arud Shah, who'd been imported in, with Naila being kicked out, as the Labour team. And there were 3 council seats to go for. And a deal was done. A deal was done which excluded this young woman. I've never met this young lady, by the way. And I can see why she would have joined the Oldham Group. But then I look at this Vision Oldham and some of the bullet points, and again it's laziness. It's complete laziness. Because 1, it doesn't quantify how you do it, and 2, worse than that, it talks about things that are outside of the remit of a councillor. So, lower council tax? Well, how would we lower council tax? How would we lower council tax? I have explained to you how I'd lower council tax. What is the Oldham Group's plans on how to lower council tax? They're just slogans. More police on the streets? Well, the police is delegated in your council tax. Police and Crime Commissioner Andy Burnham, yeah, the Mayor's office is delegated that way. So that's where your money goes. The power for more police on the streets does not lie with a councillor. And the holding housing associations to account for what? What about private landlords? What about HMO owners? What about holding these people to account as well? The independent investigation into the CSE scandal, thank you very much, but it should be a public inquiry. Grass verges and alleyway maintenance. The council's just slashed that team. Creating local jobs for our young residents, that's... You know, one of the things people in general hate about politicians is they take people for fools and make promises that they can't deliver on. And I'm not picking on Aisha. I'm looking at these policies or actions or whatever it is are shared across the Oldham Group. I think she'd make a great councillor. Here's the other thing. I think she'd make a great councillor. And I find it very interesting that in her own leaflets that she's producing herself, first of all, she's very much going on the pro-Palestinian angle. You can see with the red and white and green colour scheme. And that will, whether you like it, whether I like it or not, that's what the election in St Mary's is being fought over. We're in the position we are because of the consequences of the actions we've taken as a town and our leaders have taken over the last 4 decades. But you'll see in her leaflet, all reference to the Oldham Group has been removed. All reference to the Oldham Group has been removed. So this is a leaflet the Oldham Group put out for her. This is her own leaflet. Good luck to her. And she's bright. Look, she's what is she? She's got letters after her name. LLB, LPC, LLM. There's some legal qualifications. She's bright. We as a town should want people like this in the council chamber. Someone who can read the documents, analyse the documents, stand up and speak. And represent a form of a Muslim lady that is inclusive to a wider demographic. think you should give Arudshah a run for her money, and more. So my friends who contacted me and said, Roger, the Oldham Group people, they're not all bad people. I agree. So they need to demonstrate that themselves. I can say I think this person is a great person, and I do. Let me carry on. I was in Royton meeting with Peter Brown this morning. I've had a shave since then. I realised they're all comparing beards. So the lads who came in at the back, they're comparing beards. That's Peter Brown. That's his partner, Sylvia. I wanted to meet with him before I put his leaflet together to make sure that the leaflet said what he wanted me to say. Yes, I can make it work. He's standing in Chadderton Central as an independent on behalf of Warren. Sorry, I think you want to see Peter's face rather than mine. That's Tuin, by the way, the guy at the front who runs the place. If you're ever in Royton, you should go. It's a good, honest business. His younger sister works behind the counter. I think his brother-in-law or something does the cooking upstairs. Peter polished his Deshi breakfast off. But the lads who came in were led by this guy. Irfat is called. He's the Oldham Group candidate in Chadderton Central. Here he is. Irfat Sarjan. I spent an hour and a half talking to him. And his team. I found it interesting. I find people interesting. I asked him how he became a candidate, and it was clear it was the Kamiji route. Now he's become a candidate for the right reasons. He works with special needs children. Sits on the management committee of a mosque in Coppice, where he does a lot of voluntary work. He's been in the country since 2001. And he wants to contribute. How can I have a problem with that? I spoke to him. He's standing in Chadderton Central where Peter Brown's standing. They had a chat with each other because we are decent people and we can have decent conversations even with people we're contesting with. And it's clear that whilst Peter has a very specific local agenda, as his leaflet will show in a minute, Irfat is very much clearly on the Muslim lens and the conflict in Gaza. And again, I'm completely fine with that. If someone wants to come along and stand on that agenda and they're sincere, then he has every right to go out into the community, and people who want to should vote for him. Now, I said I'll make reference to it in the transmission for him, and I will. The Labour Party motion on Gaza was deceitful. And if this gentleman wants to stand on that platform, and people in their community care about that issue, then I would much rather they go and vote for someone like Irfat in Chadderton Central. Please go and vote for him. If you care about that issue, don't vote for Elaine Taylor. If you can't bring yourself to vote for Razan, then go and vote for Irfat. Don't waste your vote. Go and vote for him. He's a decent man. He works with special needs children in schools. He volunteers his time. And he was scared of talking to me first. He was genuinely nervous. And I was reflecting. I was looking at his friends. Some didn't like me because of my views. It's fine. I'm not here to be liked. But they all had trepidation in how I would respond to them. And it got me thinking, maybe I am harsh at times. harsher than I need to be. And I do come from a different place. I come from a very different place, and I'm privileged to have the experiences that I have and the skills that I have picked up on my journey. So if you're in Chadderton Central and you can't bring yourself to vote for my friend, Razon's my friend, a Conservative candidate, who I've got to admire, because I know if he left the Conservatives like Azad did, Montaz, my uncle, did, if he left the Conservatives and stood as an independent, he'd walk it in Chadderton Central, but he stayed true to his political beliefs. And he maintained his role as a Conservative candidate. You've got to respect someone staying loyal to their political party when they know they'd win if they switched sides and went independent. I know many people in Chadderton Central, particularly many of my Muslim nephews and nieces, the younger people in particular, who won't vote for a political party, let alone vote for the Conservatives. Well, if you can't, don't waste your vote. We are privileged in this country that we can vote in what are relatively free and fair elections. And if you care about this issue, go and vote for this man. This is Peter Brown's leaflet. Lynn will, of course, proof it and tidy things up for me. For those of you who don't know Peter Brown, he's a former gravedigger. He's in his 70s, I think, Peter. He still works every day. Manual labour. 15 years before that, he was a gravedigger. I don't agree with Peter on many things. But what I will never doubt is his commitment to the town and the people in this town. And his standing in Chadderton Central. And he went through a brief bio with me, and he wants to teach Labour a lesson, and we went through some of the themes. We are going to evict Jim McMahon. We make him a councillor, and we will take the steps to evict Jim McMahon. Chadderton Town Hall should be used as a community centre, not as the palaces of the MP. There should be children in there, mothers in there, luncheon clubs for the elderly. Those are the sorts of community facilities that should be operating out of Chadderton Town Hall, not the offices of an MP. That's just outrageous. And he's got other issues. He wants the money to be spent locally, of course. There is a culture of secrecy in the town that must be challenged. Those are his words, not mine. Dry stone wall builder. I was trying to be, I thought it was moles. I'm sure he mentioned moles. There's the stuff to do, the transgender stuff with our children. We're all uncomfortable with it. With the way it's been pushed and framed. Trying to force people to do things is the worst way to go about trying to get a mind shift change or a culture change. He's right. We do have a duty to protect women and safeguard our children. The HMOs. You've seen them all now talking about Article 4. Well, who went and researched Article 4? We did. And before he left, he added one more. Raja, we need to change the way a council is governed. The current cabinet system excludes the majority of councillors from genuinely being involved in decision making. This allows Arood Shah and her cabinet to behave like dictators and make all the decisions. Peter Brown wants us to switch to a committee style of council, where every elected councillor has the power to genuinely represent their communities. You've seen the council meetings where councillors are prevented from even speaking in a council meeting. Councillors, forget members of the public. Compare that. Compare that to this crap. And I'm taking his picture off. These people have been manipulated. They've been manipulated. And those of you who've been on this journey with me will know I'm nothing like KAMRAN GHAFOOR. One, I dread my electric bill when it comes every month. But I don't use people. I educate people, I empower people, I support people. And I was genuinely, I left upset at these lads at the back, rocked up, and they were scared of me. So in fact, I hope I've done you justice. And I hope I'm very clear to my friend Razan as well that I support him. But if you can't bring yourself to support Razan because he's a conservative, then Irfan, you care about the Gaza thing, go and vote for Irfan. And remember, I'm campaigning for Peter Brown because I genuinely think the working class white alternative who can't bring themselves to vote Labour need a choice. And even if Peter gets 400, 500, 600 votes, what you will see is that the policies, the themes we talk about, that we introduce into the political discourse of this town, over a very quick period of time, is picked up by the mainstream parties. Particularly the opposition parties and the opposition politicians. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud over the last 5 years, we've taken this town on a journey as far away from the extremists as possible. There's no EDL marches or whatever here. Why? Because of us, because what we've done, which is why I was genuinely upset at this, which is why I did put this out. How can we be going out into our white working class communities, wanting their vote when they are not represented in our political structures? And then you have the audacity to call yourself the Oldham Group? No. So once again, because our mission has been clear from the beginning, Labour first, providing we're not replacing like for like or like for worse. In Hollywood, the only person capable of making sure Labour doesn't get in is Councillor Irfan. Go and vote for him. If you live in Hollywood and you want to keep Labour out, vote for him. Look, in Failsworth, where these idiots have put a candidate. No. And I don't get on with the man. I definitely don't get on with his wife. But the only person capable of winning in Failsworth West is Mark Wilkinson. And I'd hope to God he'd had the decency, the common sense to go and speak with Brian Hoban and not put a candidate up in Failsworth East. Because I fear in Failsworth East that Lucia Ray will lose. She will lose. Catherine Charnock will not get anywhere near the votes to win, and Labour will come through the middle, and the man who's coming through the middle has been brought in by David Hayes, and he will become the next Labour leader in Oldham, because that's what they're doing. And in Waterhead, and my friend Paul Taylor standing, Oldham Heart, we've had a journey together. But just look at the journey he's been on. And the way he conveys his message now to the way he used to convey his message. Do you think that's happened accidentally? My friend Billy in Rochdale has been attacked recently by Searchlight once he became a candidate for the Workers' Party, and they claimed he was far right. He's my friend. He's been on a journey that is the consequence of his experiences. And he's a better man because of it. And I don't agree with George Galloway on a lot of things, but I agreed with him on what he said about Billy. And what the Workers' Party said about Billy. He's their candidate. They're proud that someone who was once in one place now is in a better place. And proud to support that journey. And I'm proud to call him my friend. Just as I'm proud to support Paul Taylor. Now, Paul Taylor's not for listening to me in terms of how to run his political party, which is why I think he spreads himself too thin and doesn't get over the line in one place, because you need to get over the line in one place and put your resources and target them. But actually, he's got a different mission. When I speak to him, it's clear he's got a different mission. He wants to do something to get more disenfranchised white working class voters who don't vote or have never voted or refuse to vote or have been failed by the electoral system to re-engage in that electoral system. And that's something, it's an admirable cause. So I support Oldham Heart and I support Paul Taylor. So if you can't bring yourself to vote for Naveed Chauhan in Waterhead and we want rid of Ross Birch, then please go and vote for Paul Taylor. But for God's sake, go and vote. And I learnt this, Gary. I learnt this in Northern Ireland. I learnt this overseas. It is our responsibility to engage with those, not to condemn them. So it's my responsibility to reach out to those involved in the Oldham Group and ask them to reach out. Reach out to a wider demographic. Go and knock on the doors of white people. Go and speak to them. Go and listen to them. Don't go and ask for their vote. Go and listen to them. See the world through their eyes. This isn't a game we're in. being a politician, the way I see it, being a leader, isn't about manipulating people so you get their vote. It's about service. It's always been about service. And I see that. They might be in the wrong group and they might have got there the wrong way, but I see that. I see that in the likes of Aisha. I see that in Irfat. I see that in Naveed. But I still have concerns because of your leader. And I want to go through some of those concerns. But of course, we're all going to vote for Peter Brown in Chadderton Central, aren't we? Once Lynn's checked the copy, his leaflets go to print. I pick up the leaflets for Royton tomorrow, A3. We'll need some volunteers. I know Gary's away till next week. You're in Turkey, aren't you, Gary? Yeah, I've seen some lovely pictures of you and the family enjoying the sunshine. I'll get to this idiot later. And that, what am I talking about? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Okay. This is what I want to do. Okay. If you're one of the 193 with me at this moment in time, I have 36 likes. So there's no way I'm going to sit here and carry on until those likes have increased and we get the algorithm a bit up. If you take value in it, please do consider buying me a coffee or a super chat, as David has just done. Thank you very, very much, David. Ever grateful, ever grateful. This is how I keep my lights on. This is how I do my work. And be honest, no one else is going to do this for you. No one else is capable of doing this for you. And no one else will risk their lives doing this for you. So if you take value, and there's 193 of you here, consider buying me a samosa. It's £2. Thank you, Louise brought me some samosas. Collins brought me some samosas. And 2 other people have brought me some samosas. So thank you to the 4 people who've done that. And those of you who've done the super chats. And we're up to 41 likes, okay? Now I'm going to sit here. I'm going to sit here until we get to 50 or so. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee. Because the next bit is important. And you'll see what I'm doing. And you'll see why I'm doing it. And you'll be reminded why you're here listening to me. So I'll come back with a coffee. Okay, are we back? Let me bring up his name, so I've got his name, so I know who I'm talking about again. Give me a second. In Failsworth East. Got the wrong one. There we go. Chadderton, Coldhurst, Crompton. There's a guy, his name is what's happened now? Just give me a second while I reset this. It was working before. Give me a second. I'll get there. No, it's not having it. Sorry, you can just sit there whilst I try and fix this. I'd like to do it on here, if I can. Right, that's working now there. Sorry, my equipment is all cobbled together, so it is what it is. I'm happy with it this way, if I want to see. It works most of the time, but every now and then we'll have a glitch like now. Okay, that's working now. Yep. You got there. Okay. Hiya, Faye. Thank you, Faye, for the super chat. Thank you very, very much. I'm not sure what's going backwards on yours, so there's nothing I can do at my end, I'm afraid, if your internet's going backwards. Okay, it's called Ken Rustage. So this bloke, Ken Rustage, has been sponsored by, proposed and seconded by David Hayes and Judith Hayes. Okay, so he's the Labour candidate for Failsworth East. And my suspicion is he's been brought in to replace Arud Shah as leader, providing he gets elected. Because David Hayes is the former MP who's bringing this out of towner guy in. Okay? So imagine a world without Arud Shah as leader. Labour loses the majority. Now, Labour will win there, so there are 31 seats plus Failsworth East. Takes them to 32. They're losing Alexandra, they're losing St Mary's, Medlock maybe, Waterhead. On a good day they lose 5 seats. On a good day they lose 5 seats. And down to 27 is the number of Labour seats they have. If on a good day they lose 5 seats, the Oldham Group, Cammy G's Oldham Group, will have 6 seats, at least. At least 6 seats. Right. I'm generalising. Labour on 27. Lib Dems on 10. Conservatives on 10. Oldham Group on 6. Others like the FIP, Right Independence, Charlotte on 7. So that's what it looked like in May. And remember, this is what it looked like for 2 years. Alright. So how do Labour take control? First one is easy. His name is Mark Ince, ex-Labour Party. Remember, came out to support Arud Shah just before the last council meeting, or just after the last council meeting. He also joined in the claims that we're far right, racists, all of that. Mark Ince will support Arud Shah. It doesn't get them to where they need to be. Will Nyla and Shoaib go back? Don't think so. If they've chosen to sit out independence, they'll see it out as independence for a while. They won't jump straight back in. Shoaib's too much of a shrewd operator. The Conservatives won't get in bed with him. Maybe. They'll buy off Maggie Hurley, and I'm saying maybe. Who knows? Maybe they'll buy off the Failsworth independence. And I'm again saying maybe. I don't think they will. We can see the coalition is too fraught. And these people fell out amongst themselves. So they're not solid to have. I think this is what will take place. Remember, Cammy G wants to be MP. He wants to be leader, he wants to be in charge. When he first became the Conservative councillor, he made a move to be leader of the Conservative group. When KAMRAN GHAFOOR first became a Conservative councillor, he wanted to immediately become leader of the group. Leader of the opposition would have been at the time. It's why he fell out over Lewis, with Lewis. And then not getting his way, he tried to deselect Lewis or take over the branch. And for those of you who don't know, and I do know, and again I'll share this now with you, KAMRAN GHAFOOR tried to put up a candidate against Lewis in this election. Not an Asian candidate, he went to a former councillor and tried to put up a former councillor against Lewis. So he's got this vendetta. He's got this vendetta. Because he couldn't become in charge. He wants to be in charge. He wants to be the guy. Rolls Royce driver, Porsche driver. He wants to be the guy. You can see it. So what's he going to do? Well, if Lewis is great, Cammy G tried to take him out. And again, this would have been independent of his Oldham Group. None of those lads would have known. None of those lads would have known. So what will Cammy G do? So Cammy G will go to Arood Shah. Or to Rustage. Whoever wants to be the leader of the Labour Party. And he'll say to them, my opinion, my analysis. The six of us, we're stable. With your 27 plus our 6, we become 33 and we'll control the council for 2 years. And he'll return. He'll want to be made co-leader of the council. And some of his guys will be, at least one, if not two, need to be rewarded onto cabinet positions. Having sat with him, having engaged with him, having seen how he operates and how ruthless he is, that's what I believe he will do. So to my friends in the Oldham Group, to those who have contacted me and said we didn't know this was going on in terms of his attempt to manipulate me and use me as a means to access my supporters to progress his parliamentary bid in Oldham West. You now know that is true. I want you to ask your leader if the scenario I'm sharing here is something he's considered. And when you go knocking on the doors of people you know support me in Waterhead, support me in Hollywood, who I'm still saying to them, consider voting for you. Irfan, consider voting for you, Naveed. When you go into those communities, go being prepared to say to them that under no circumstances will we do a pact with Labour. Under no circumstances will we enter into a pact with Labour. Issue that statement. Issue that statement online. Under no circumstances will we enter a pact. If I am elected as councillor, under no circumstances will I allow myself into a position where I enter into a pact of a coalition with Arud Shah or anyone else in the Labour Party. Because you don't just owe it to the white supporters you're trying to get the vote from, you owe it to the Muslim supporters who have trusted you as an alternative to Labour. I know you're here. I know you're watching this. I know you're listening to this. Anyone can comment on this. All you've got to do is subscribe for 10 seconds or something. Subscription's free. You just click on it. Subscribe now. Come on, let's hear it. Under no circumstances, if I am elected councillor, under no circumstances will I enter into a pact with Labour and prop up a Labour administration. Your own voter base, your own Muslim voter base want you to confirm that. Never mind the white people. Because that's where I think Kamij is going. He'll want to go and do a deal with the Labour Party where he'll get to be co-leader or something like that, a senior position. So come on, I'll drink my Ribena. I'm out of him, so I've got Ribena. So I'll drink my Ribena. We know you're here. What's stopping you? Or do you need to get permission? Or has it suddenly dawned on you like that? Bastard. Let me bring you something. Irfat and his team were out campaigning when I saw them. They stopped for some lunch. Is when I saw them. So leaflet. Look at the back. Boycott Labour. That's what you're campaigning on. Boycott Labour. So confirm it to me, lads. Confirm it. Under no circumstances will you enter into a coalition with Labour should you be elected. And if you can't bring yourself to have the courage to say it now, put it on your Facebook pages. Put it in your literature. When the people who trust me, who are considering voting for you, and I'm encouraging them to still vote for you, look them in the eye and tell them, I promise you that I will not enter into a coalition with Labour. I put myself out here every day. You contact me, I'm honest with all of you. I'm straight with all of you. 5 years in and you can see I haven't changed. I have a set of fundamental beliefs and values. nothing. I know you guys are watching, but nothing. Okay. Back to the transmission. I was in the grill opposite Oldham Central Mosque yesterday with Mr. P. I bought dinner. And there was a conveyor belt of people coming and going. The guy who owns the grill said I could have anything I wanted, but he wasn't going to serve me samosas. It's took an entirely different meaning, I think, samosas. I thought they had no masters. I thought they were their own masters, Tony. They're going and getting themselves elected off the back of saying boycott Labour. So it should be the easiest thing to do. Under no circumstances will we enter into a pact with Labour. And the talk in the grill was how Jim McMahon was nowhere to be seen. Ordinarily in election season, he'd be at the mosque, marching up and down Failsworth Road, hanging out in Coldhurst with his boys. Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to see him in Medlock, nowhere to be seen in Wearmouth. Well, actually, he's not got a candidate now in Wearmouth. But where he is hanging out is in the white areas. This coward, McMahon, you coward. You're now hanging out with Holly Harrison in Chadderton South. He's with Piffian in Royton North. Come on, McMahon. Come to the Asian areas. I'll be there with the samosas. Come on. Where are you? He's hanging out in Chadderton South. He's hanging out in Royton North. Nowhere to be in his once block vote stronghold of Coldhurst, of Medlock, of Wearmouth. He's not even ventured into Chadderton Central. Come on, Jimmy! My brother Jamal! What are you scared of? Come on! Let's do some campaigning in Coldhurst. He's now pretending to care about pubs. He's campaigning now pretending he cares about pubs. He's never cared about pubs before. Now suddenly he's come back. He's campaigning, wanting to save the pubs. Look where he is. Failsworth West. That's with Abdul Jabber. Jabber! Why don't you bring him to Coldhurst, Jabber? Come on, Jabber. Bring him to Coldhurst. Latif Chowdhury. Why don't you take him to Medlock? Yeah, bunch of cowards. Cowards. I have no issue with Amoy. I like Amoy. She might have ditched me. And, you know, the grass was greener for her with the Oldham Group. Drank the John Hughes Kool-Aid. The Mark Ince nonsense. But Amoy, you're in trouble. Now, forget the... various grammar mistakes in your leaflet, am I? Forget that. You're in trouble because of this. Amoy is claiming at the top, the truth is, comma, the Labour Control Council has overseen the decline of our town and wasted millions in the process, comma, whilst the Liberal Democrats have looked on and done nothing, comma, and the Conservatives, there's so many commas, and the Conservatives are bringing in a capital C, but that's by the by, but this is why you're in trouble, Amoy. And who's your agent? Whoever is your agent, also, depending what the Conservatives do, he could end up being interviewed under the Misrepresentation of People's Act for a criminal offence. You're claiming here, and the Conservatives, who? That's the wrong whose, isn't it? But that's by the by. And the Conservatives, whose candidate is an ex-Labour member. So the Conservative candidate is McManus, former councillor McManus from Saddleworth. He's standing in St James's. I've been informed by the Conservatives that Chris McManus is not a former Labour member, and claiming he's an ex-Labour member who was removed from the Labour Party. So that means expelled from the Labour Party. You're claiming he's an ex-Labour Party member who was expelled from the Labour Party. Because I'm a decent man, irrespective of what these people have done to me, I've urged the Conservatives to show some restraint and not escalate this criminally. And reach out to Amoy and ask her to withdraw her leaflets immediately. I've urged Lewis and his team to do that. Because otherwise Amoy would be in big trouble. Yeah, it's promoted and published by Amoy, so she's not an agent on her own. She'd be in extremely big trouble. And my condolences to her, Tony. I didn't know. We can see how I'm behaving. If I wanted to be a Mark Hints or a Maggie Hurley, I'd behave differently. I've supported Naveed and the others and given them a way through this. And I'm urging Amoy to immediately reach out and contact Lewis, apologise and do whatever needs to be done to fix this, because my information, Amoy, is McManus is not a former Labour Party member who was removed from the party. Now, it was a Labour Party councillor who said that, I'd be giving Lewis the elections officer, the police officer's details. That's what I'd be doing. I have something more serious to share with you. If you're finding value in this transmission, please consider pressing like, share, buy me a coffee, super chat. I don't know. Thank you to the 4 people who've bought me coffees this evening. I don't think there's malice in Amoy, Elaine. I think she's been badly advised. I got a concerned phone call today from someone. Scared. Chadderton Central, where Councillor Elaine Taylor is up for re-election fighting. Because she relies on the Muslim votes and she's not going to get them in the same way. And we're going to take some of the white votes away from her. As are Oldham Heart and a whole host of others. So she's in trouble now. Actually having to walk up and down the streets. Watching Councillor Elaine Taylor walk up and down the streets is a sight. It's an experience. In the lead up to every election, all political parties in Oldham do 2 things. They go around knocking on doors and they get people to register to vote, is the first thing. I think today or yesterday was register to vote day or something. Even Andy Burnham put up a post about the importance of registering to vote. Doesn't go to Oldham Council, it goes somewhere central and comes back. So people are registered to vote. The second thing that they do, and I'm not keen on it, I've said it from the beginning, but they all do it, is that they go and register people to postal vote. And we work for it lawfully. Forget the fraud for a minute. We work for it lawfully. We say, well, if you register postal vote, and I've got you to register postal vote, so I'm Raja Mia knocking on doors on behalf of Peter Brown. And there's 100 people who've been registered. I get registered to postal vote. The assumption I'd take away is, okay, I've encouraged these people to postal vote. I've talked about Peter. They'll vote for him. I'll mark them off as likely my supporters, my voters. And again, that goes off somewhere centrally, and an updated list is prepared. There are Oldham Council officers going and threatening members of the public who registered to vote and registered to postal vote, pretending that they're going to see whether they're authentic or not. I've never heard of this done ever. This is what I suspect is taking place, and it's interference with the electoral process. Again, it's my suspicions, and it should be investigated by the police. This really should be investigated by the police. I urge the Conservatives or the Liberal Democrats to contact the police. This is what I think is taking place. The Labour Party have got all of the list, the updated list of those who are new on the electoral register and those who are new on postal votes. Okay? They've then got the highlighter out and seen that a disproportionate number of those registered as new voters, legally, and registered as postal voters, again legally, are not people that they've signed up. The people that The Conservatives have signed up, because that's the main opposition there. The Conservatives have signed up. Razan and his team have signed up. So they've sent out council officers to try and harass and intimidate those people. This council, remember, has form on interfering in the election. The previous chief executive admitted to it, although she claimed it was not enough to interfere in the outcome of an election, was her defence. But she admitted to her council officers interfering in an election. I now suspect, and I have no reason to doubt the information that's been given to me, it's come from a reputable source. I have no reason to doubt that. I think the police need to go and investigate the council, and whether the council officers are being directed to go and harass and intimidate those who have signed up, that have been signed up by others other than the Labour Party. Lewis is Razan's agent. I've seen it on the imprint of his leaflets. My friend Moib listens in. He's a senior Lib Dem member. You guys need to go to the police, because I suspect the election is being interfered in. And you need to issue statements, Marlene. If the police won't do anything, they need to issue statements concerned at what is being taking place. A simple email to the returning officer and the borough solicitor will confirm whether council officers have been out to visit voters. I could go into Chadderton Central tomorrow, make some phone calls with a camera and go and see voters who've had visits from council officers. It's wrong. It's all wrong. But they're desperate. The council officers themselves are desperate because they know what we're going to do. We're going to push for a public inquiry that will see many of these people questioned and likely face criminal charges. We're going to bring the auditors in to go through the books. And there's always a money trail. There's always a money trail. These people are scared. And they're doing whatever they can to try and keep the Labour Party in power. My friends in the Liberal Democrats, my friends in the Conservative Party, I urge you to contact the council to confirm this first and foremost, whether these actions have took place. Council officers have been out to residents' homes to confirm that they're on the electoral roll and to confirm that they applied for a postal vote. Remember last year when we got Maggie Hurley over the line and how the council's election team gave Maggie Hurley the wrong information about postal votes. And I told her it was the wrong list and she had to go back and get the right list. And they pretended it was an honest mistake. It wasn't an honest mistake. I don't believe it was an honest mistake. Council officers should not be going out to visit people in their houses to check. And particularly not the people in houses who who weren't signed up by the Labour Party. In past elections, when I began this journey, the Labour Party had the police on speed dial, and Abdul Jabbar would send the police to opposition candidates' houses. Look out for the statement from the Oldham Group candidates committing to not entering into any form of pact with the Labour Party. Maybe Cammy G will issue such a statement. As always, I ask you to make your own mind up. I simply share what I see and analyse it the best I can. For those of you new to me, my name is Raj Amir. And if you see me on the streets delivering leaflets, I'm alright for a biscuit as well. It's not just samosas I like. Biscuits, yeah. A very, very good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.